It was a tragedy that should never have happened. 9 years ago this week, a massive explosion at New Zealand's Pike River mine killed 29 men, including 3 Australians. Their bodies remain buried underground. The disaster happened despite repeated warnings of a potential catastrophe at the mine, warnings that were ignored by the mining company in the pursuit of profits. Now, as Alex Cullen reports, there is finally a real chance that those responsible will be brought to justice.
New Zealand's wild west coast, where the storm-lashed Tasman Sea meets the weather-beaten shore. In a remote mountain valley, 200 metres beneath the earth, runs a river of black gold, a motherlode of coal. A fortune to be made, no matter the cost.
It's a cold, rugged, beautiful place, but it's also the scene of a heartbreaking tragedy. You see, deep inside that mountain was a working coal mine that became a crime scene and a tomb for 29 men.
Among the dead are 3 Australians. Their families and close friends are here today.
Hi.
They're about to make a symbolic and long-awaited entry, a short distance into the mine, to be as close as they've ever been to where their loved ones lie.
It's a bit nerve-wracking.
You all right?
Yeah.
It's a day most feared would never come, and a huge step towards uncovering the truth.
I do want to see justice in some form. If any of us went out and killed 29 people, we would have to be held accountable. We would be probably locked up in some jail cell.
Tonight, we'll also take you deep underground to where no one has ventured since the explosion. Down here, the mystery of what triggered the explosion may soon be solved, and those responsible could at last be brought to justice.
It's a crime scene. There's 29 people killed. You've got to find out what happened.
To lose 29 men and to have no one held accountable for it is just, it's disgusting, eh? That, you know, the fact that literally people can just wipe their hands of it and go, oh, well, shit happens, you know? That's mining. What a fucking joke.
Daniel Rockhouse was born in Singleton, north of Sydney. Mining has been in his family for generations. When Daniel was 10, his parents and brothers moved to New Zealand, which is where he picked up the Kiwi accent.
So why Pike River? What was the draw card there?
For me, it was just to get into any mine, for the fact that my father got a job there. That's the only reason I went to Pike River.
Daniel was one of 4 Australians underground on the day of the disaster back in November 2010. The other 3 were 25-year-old Joshua Ufa from Queensland, Willie Johnson, 49, also from Queensland, and Daniel's younger brother Ben, who was 21.
He was pretty brainy, I hear.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Out of the 3 of us, he's the brainier of the 3 of us. You know, went to university. It was starting to not really appeal to him too much. Yeah. That's why he took the gap year, to kind of just get away from it for a bit and go earn some money.
Ben hadn't given up his dream of finishing university, but decided to put down the books for a bit and work alongside his older brother and father, Neville, at Pike River.
He wanted to be a geologist.
He did. He actually worked with the geologist at Pike the year before, just to get a bit of experience before he started uni, and he just loved it.
Both boys, the brainy Ben and older brother Daniel, told their mum Sonia they were worried about safety in the mine.
They felt that there were unsafe things going on, things that weren't right. I said to Ben, but what if you have an accident or something happens to you down there? And he said, Mum, if I have an accident down there, I'm screwed. And 3 days later, he was killed.
There's a lot of corners cut as well. There was a lot of safety concerns that people brought up, and they were pretty much told to just, if you don't like it, bugger off. A lot of things got swept under the carpet that shouldn't have got.
Things like broken safety equipment, an emergency exit that was almost impossible to use, a flawed electrical and ventilation system, and, worst of all, alarming and dangerous levels of methane gas.
In the last 48 days before the explosion, there were 21 reports of methane levels reaching explosive volumes.
There you go. Yeah, that's crazy, and nothing was done about it.
The safety conditions were so bad that Pike River should not have continued operating. But young miners like 25-year-old Australian Joshua Ufer didn't know that.
How would you describe Josh?
He was right into everything Australian, drinking Bundy rum, playing cricket in the backyard, barbecues, doing fun things, going to the horse races, loved his supercars,
For Joanne Ufer and the whole family, the memories of Josh are as strong as ever. There are videos like this one of Josh skydiving and precious photo albums.
It was a bit of a larrikin.
That are brought out whenever there's a special occasion.
We like to get together and remember Josh as part of the family, and he's all around us, and we talk about him a lot.
Like the Rockhouse brothers, coal was in Josh's blood. He grew up in a mining family in northern Queensland, and as soon as he was out of school, he went straight into the mines.
So why did he go to New Zealand?
Oh, well, I think he was just looking for a change, living in another country and just experiencing a bit of a different lifestyle.
At Pike River, Josh made friends quickly, especially with the other Aussies in the mine, including Daniel and Ben Rockhouse.
Josh is a good guy. Got on the piss with him a few times. He's good value, really good value.
There was a brotherhood among all of the miners, and a belief that safety conditions would get better soon. But the mine was in deep financial trouble, and management was under intense pressure to turn a profit. The safety of their workers was the least of the mine management's concerns.
They had to get the coal out. As we know now, they were in dire financial straits, and they were busily trying to get some more money to invest into the company because things were pretty bad. And they just had to get that coal out to get the money.
To try to turn things around, workers were offered thousands of dollars in bonuses to mine more coal in less time.
Back then, it was a lot of money. $10,000. That's a nice holiday for your family,
For a 23-year-old?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And for a 23-year-old, that's a lot of beer.
Yeah, that's right.
But, the problem with it is it had nothing to do with safety.
And soon enough, an unimaginable price would be paid for putting profits ahead of safety. November 19, 2010. High methane gas levels are recorded that morning and ignored. During the day, the mine is cleared for blasting to break down coal-bearing rock. When the miners gather near the surface, Daniel sees his brother, Ben.
So I got to see my brother then, underground, and we just literally asked him what's he up to this weekend, sort of thing. Going to the pub tonight. So I said I might come out for a couple of beers. I might see you tonight. And he goes, yeah, no worries. And that was last time I spoke to him. Not knowing what was about to happen, I was lucky that day. I got to see him one more time.
While the rest of the miners go back to the coalface, Daniel is asked to grab a loader to clear stray coal from the tunnel, which is known as the drift.
So how far in?
I was about 1,800 metres in.
So nearly 2 kilometres.
Yeah, nearly 2 k's in.
This is a map of the mine. Daniel is here. Most of the other miners in his crew are much further in, but their exact location is not known. Then, at 3:44 p.m, just 16 minutes before the end of the shift,
it was one of the single loudest things that I've ever heard in my life. It was like what I would assume a grenade would sound like if it was let off right in front of you. I actually went deaf in my left ear for a time. Like, all I heard was like ringing, very disorientating. Within a matter of like 2 seconds, I was engulfed with a really thick, pungent smoke. It was full of gas and full of dust.
What did it smell like?
Burnt rubber and diesel. Burnt diesel. Like if you went to a really smoky truck and just breathed on the exhaust, and with some burning, with a burning rubber tire or something like that next to you, like it was really, really painful to breathe in.
Could you see the explosion?
I saw a flash. I saw it like from a distance. Like it's hard to explain. It was like the mine kind of just for a quick instant just like lit up. And then when the blast hit, obviously the shockwave hit me and it knocked me on my ass.
At the mine entrance, the shockwave is captured on a security camera. It lasts for more than 20 seconds. In the control room, about a kilometre away, they have no idea of the disaster unfolding in the mountain.
Hello, anyone underground?
And they can't understand why no one is returning their calls.
Hello, monitor place. Anyone underground? Anyone?
1.8 kilometres in from the mine entrance, Daniel Rockhouse is breathing in toxic smoke and losing consciousness.
I saw an airline going over the roof and an outlet where I could take the airline off, and I was hoping to breathe off that airline.
So is that just like a pipe, is it?
Yeah, it's like a 6-inch galvanised pipe that pumps air into the mine. I was able to open it up, and at that point I collapsed. And I could feel my heart pounding out of my chest, just crazy. And I could literally feel my heart just slowing down. And you know, it was going like rapid, and then it just started boom, boom, boom. And then I was literally waiting for it to stop. And I closed my eyes and I go, well, this is it. I'm done. I was waiting to die.
Next.
Hello, underground. Anybody underground?
Trapped 2 kilometres underground.
I'd opened the pipe enough to kind of keep me alive.
Daniel's against the odds story of survival.
I knew that I had to get myself out. If I didn't, I was going to die.
Australia's serial card fraudster, eluding police for years.
Talk about being caught red-handed.
How they got him. 7 News, tomorrow.
Our Ashes heroes are back on home soil, and so is the world's greatest batsman.
He's going to etch his name into history here.
See him in every Test match live.
The stuff of boyhood dreams.
See the women's cricket live. All the biggest BBL matches live. You don't need to pay for it. It's all here.
Live, free, and in HD. The first test begins Thursday on Australia's home of cricket, 7. Now, let's play.
Value just got a whole lot better with the new $5 Subway 6-inch everyday value range. Delicious value, freshly made for just $5. Today, all day, every day at Subway.
For the first time in Australia since 1986, A Day on the Green presents AHA. Plus, very special guest, Rick Astley. At Kings Park and Botanic Garden, Wednesday, February 19. Aha with Rick Astley, live at A Day on the Green, presented by Amy. Book now through Ticketmaster.
The traineeship I've always wanted.
To me, that's big.
A new ambulance station that helps save lives.
To us, that's big.
A place that brings family and community together.
Protecting my culture and country, to me, that's big.
A safe place to support women and their families.
A traineeship that can start a real career. To us, that's big.
Regional WA is already an amazing place to live.
And to have support for the things that make it even better.
To us, that's big too.
A few days ago, James had neck pain. Then he discovered Voltaren Emel Gel. It relieves pain 2 times faster and reduces inflammation. Voltaren, the joy of movement.
Value just got a whole lot better with the new $5 Subway 6-inch everyday value range. Delicious value, freshly made for just $5. Today, all day, every day at Subway.
Seagulls Outdoor Furniture. Sale prices now on. The Banyan Sofa Set, a crazy $3.99. Virginia Modular, $8.99. And the luxury Porto Sofa Dining Set, $15.99. At Seagulls Outdoor Furniture, we will never be beaten on price.
The traineeship I've always wanted.
To me, that's big.
A new ambulance station that helps save lives.
To us, that's big.
A place that brings family and community together.
Protecting my culture and country, to me, that's big.
A safe place to support women and their families.
A traineeship that can start a real career. To us, that's big.
Regional WA is already an amazing place to live.
And to have support for the things that make it even better.
To us, that's big too.
It's that magical time of the year when the joys of Christmas light up the streets of Perth. Come along to the 2019 Alinta Energy Christmas Pageant on December 7. See the city come alive with sparkling new floats and a spectacular parade featuring Santa, Mrs. Claus and all your favourite Channel 7 stars. The 2019 Alinta Energy Christmas Pageant is proudly supported by Channel 7, the City of Perth, RAC and the West Australian.
Merry Christmas!
I'm your new intern.
I'm glad you also see the humour in this.
Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway. The Intern, next on 7.
At 3:44 p.m. on Friday, November 19, 2010, an explosion ripped through the Pike River coal mine on New Zealand's west coast.
Hello, underground. Anyone underground?
4 Australians are among the 31 miners underground.
Hello, anyone underground? Can take this call. Anybody answer the deck, please?
On the surface, complete confusion.
Hello, underground. Anyone underground?
They have no idea there's even been an explosion.
Okay, just keep trying their comms underground, mate. Yeah, roger that. Hello, underground. Anybody underground?
Australian Daniel Rockhouse has passed out nearly 2 kilometres from the entrance. 50 minutes after the blast, he comes to.
My memory gets a little bit hazy at that point, and I don't really know how long I was out for. I'm assuming because of the air that was like pumping above my head that I'd open out of the pipe, diluted the small area that I was in enough to kind of keep me alive.
He picks himself up and staggers towards a nearby emergency phone.
What made you do that? I was thinking about my family at the time. You know, at the time my wife was heavily pregnant. She was 6 months pregnant. So I was thinking about my unborn daughter, and the fact that I may not ever meet her. Yeah, I knew that I had to attempt to get myself out, because there was, you know, if I didn't, I was going to die. So that's what drove me to just push through push through it all to kind of just keep going.
In the tunnel, he finds the phone on the wall and desperately dials for help.
Rung 2 times and I got an answering machine message. Yeah, so I couldn't believe it. It just said, "Welcome to Pike River Coal, can't take your call at the moment, leave a message." And I was just like,
His next call gets through to the control room.
Hello?
They tell him to keep walking.
as I was making my way out, I got a certain way and I found another loader, no operator. I found that very peculiar. I managed to squeeze past the loader and the pipes, and I found Russell at the back of the loader in a really bad way.
Russell Smith is alive today because Daniel found him.
He said I was on my hands and knees like a praying position. So he grabbed my hair and pulled me back, and my eyes are rolling around my head, so I was slowly starting to come around.
I tried to talk to him, and, you know, I don't know, something's happened. You know, I don't know what it is, but he wouldn't talk to me. Like he just his eyes were rolling around in his head, and he was kind of drooling and stuff a little bit.
Russell can hardly move. Still, Daniel finds the strength to lift him up and pull him along the tunnel.
I literally just dragged him backwards, and I dragged him out to the fresh air base. It was a few hundred metres away.
There, in the fresh air base, should have been oxygen and a first aid kit.
There was no first aid kits, the air had been turned off, and there was an out-of-service tag on the phone saying out of service, due to be relocated further into the mine. But no one had told us. No one had told us that this refuge chamber was not to be used. And
that is unforgivable.
Yeah.
Well, what happened next?
At that point, I lost my shit. I couldn't believe my eyes. I picked Russell back up, and at that point he was able to kind of stand on his own 2 feet, but like I held on to him, and I put his arm around my shoulders and I held on to him like that, and I didn't let him go, and we just literally 3-legged it.
The mine entrance camera shows the pair hobbling to safety 2 hours and 7 minutes after the explosion.
I sat Russell down and I got onto an intercom system, and within about 5 minutes or so, two vehicles showed up and a couple of paramedics, and my old man was in the vehicle, and he didn't know I was one of the guys that was getting out, and I just collapsed, and you know, he picked me up and put me into the truck, and I got hooked up with some oxygen.
Describe that moment, seeing your dad.
Oh, I started crying. The fact that, like, I wasn't crying because I saw Dad. But the reason I was crying is because all I was thinking about was Ben. Because I knew he was still in there, but Dad didn't know. Dad didn't know that he was still there. Dad didn't know that either of us were underground. He was trying to ask me, what happened? And I turned to him and I said, Dad, Ben's in there. And he just lost it. He just lost it. Oh, man, nearly gets me teary just thinking about it, eh?
As news spread of the disaster, Joshua's mum, Joanne, got on the first plane she could from Australia.
I'm going over there to be there when they rescue him. That was virtually what I had in my mind. Yeah, I went over there thinking that by the time virtually I got there, he would almost be out.
Daniel was recovering in hospital, hoping he'd soon be joined by other survivors. But deep down he knew the chances were slim.
My mum came to me as soon as she could get to Greymouth from Christchurch, came straight to the hospital and held on to me and was crying, and she goes, do you think Ben's still alive? And I just looked at her and I go, no, Mum, he's gone. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to say to my mum.
I think Daniel may have confirmed your worst fears.
He did. But I didn't want to hear it. I couldn't believe that
I just couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it.
Then there was a second explosion. That's when everything really changed. All hope was dashed.
There has been a second explosion at the mine this afternoon. There is no longer any hope for the 29 trapped miners. Obviously devastating news.
It's unbelievable. This is the West Coast darkest hour, I'm telling you. It doesn't get worse than this.
Cries and screams and sobs, and it was just a room of probably over 200 plus people, and the devastation. It was horrible.
People were screaming and throwing chairs, and everybody was just really, and I was just numb. I couldn't believe it.
Families say they were told that the inferno would have completely destroyed everything inside. This is vision taken in the tunnel by a camera mounted on a remote-controlled vehicle.
For years and years, they were telling us that it was far too dangerous to go in, that the rock fall and all that was in there would, and nothing could be further from the truth.
Further into the mine, there is clearly damage. But many still believe there was a window after the first explosion, when there may well have been other survivors that could have been rescued.
Do you think they could have gone in to rescue your fellow miners?
Yeah, I do.
Why?
They don't just rush in. They do it in stages. They'd be testing all the way in. They had 5 days before the next explosion, so they had plenty of time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very easily done.
So you think they could have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to go in there. They tried to go in there, but the police stopped them.
But can you understand, though, why they might have been reluctant to do that, though, knowing that there could be another explosion?
From the police's point of view? No, not really. Can't understand it at all. Why they took over, I don't know, but if they did, they knew nothing about mines rescue. Apparently they Googled it to find out what the story was.
The Pike River Royal Commission later concluded that the Pike River Coal Company, which went into receivership 3 weeks after the tragedy, ignored numerous warnings of a potential catastrophe, exposing its workers to unacceptable risks. The mine should have been shut down until it was made safe. Despite all this, despite these failures, no one from the company has ever faced any criminal charges.
The fact that people can just wipe their hands of it and go, oh, well, shit happens, That's mining. What a joke.
Pike River Mine was sealed up, never to be reopened again, which meant the bodies and any potential clues about what really happened would be buried forever. But no one counted on the unshakable resilience of mothers like Sonia Rockhouse.
You've always suspected something untoward, and you've never, ever given up.
No.
Why?
I don't like injustice, and, my son had a future. I've been robbed of him providing me with more grandchildren, of him getting married and going on and fulfilling his dreams of things that he wanted to do. I miss him every day. He was my baby, my youngest child. And not only that, it's ruined Daniel's life as well. So 2 of my children have had their lives destroyed because of people's slackness and complacency. And I just was not going to have my child killed, and no truth, no justice, and no accountability.
The families each received $110,000 in compensation. But what they really wanted was the truth. They protested long and hard. Getting the miners out became an election issue in 2017. And when Jacinda Ardern's Labor Party was elected, she delivered on a promise she'd made on a visit to Pike River during her campaign.
And if you have a look through here, we've even got Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister.
Labor leader at the time?
The Labor leader at the time, yeah.
And now you're Prime Minister?
Yeah. So she's come here and wrote a little message in there.
We will do all we can to bring your loved ones home.
Yeah. So that's pretty awesome, you know. It's
more of a commitment than the previous one.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Next,
every time I go on the ground, he's on my mind.
the families fight to bring the men in the mountain home.
All taken from their mothers, wives, children, all for some money. They all should be accountable for what happened.
Excuse me for a second. I guess we should blow these candles. Yes, go for it. Okay.
This will be the last time anyone sees her.
Hello?
What's happened?
Every man and his dog's out searching for her.
It's like she's disappeared off the face of the earth. Someone's got to have seen something.
What if something bad has happened to her?
And right now, every minute counts. None of us are going to give up, which means you can't either.
Home and Away, this week at 7 on 7.
We all know as you age, it's important to take care of yourself, especially the changing needs of your skin. Olay Regenerist Microsculpting Cream paired with Miracle Boost Pre-Essence improves skin renewal and hydration, so you can look up to 10 years younger in 28 days. Look the way you feel. Get Olay Regenerist for the best price at Chemist Warehouse.
Twice the quality you imagined at half the price you'd think. Wow. Printed skirts, only $12, and 100% cotton rib tanks for just $8. That's wow. That's best and less.
From the top, music.
I love family.
The Addams Family.
Do what you want to do. I can tell you what it's like to do. It's your thing. Do what you want.
The traineeship I've always wanted.
To me, that's big. A new ambulance station that helps save lives.
To us, that's big.
A place that brings family and community together.
Protecting my culture and country, to me, that's big.
A safe place to support women and their families.
A traineeship that can start a real career. To us, that's big.
Regional WA is already an amazing place to live.
And to have support for the things that make it even better.
To us, that's big too.
Are you going to take my hand?
Charging. Clear.
This is terrifying.
We are in this moment together, all right?
Nothing will seem impossible.
Where do we start?
There's one place to get your fix.
Need some help over here.
Of the best premium dramas.
What's going on?
You're gonna be okay. You just hang on.
Premium drama streaming now and for free on 7+.
I'm your new intern.
I'm glad you also see the humor in this.
Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway. The Intern, next on 7.
After the Pike River mine disaster, Daniel Rockhouse returned to Australia and went back to something he knows and, would you believe, still loves: coal mining. His personal experience is a powerful lesson to others.
This is the 29 men that are still underground, all right? Just take a good look at them, because this could be any one of you.
Even though Daniel's courage for rescuing fellow miner Russell Smith was recognised,
Mr. Daniel James Rockhouse to receive the New Zealand Bravery Medal.
He struggled with guilt for surviving.
I went through a time of having major survivor's guilt. It was hard.
I understand you haven't even had PTSD, you know.
Oh, yeah, I still suffer from the PTSD. I still have dreams about Pike. I can't do anything about it. I can't decide what my brain dreams about when I'm sleeping, you know.
These days, Daniel finds a strange comfort underground, mining coal.
I miss him every day. I think about him every day. Every time I go underground, whether I like it or not, he's on my mind all the time. That's kind of like a part of the reason why I'm still on the ground. They sound real corny, but like I kind of feel a little bit closer to him.
Joanne Ufer also still works in the mining industry and talks to other workers about safety and what went wrong at Pike River.
These things happen every day.
She believes Joshua was killed because of greed.
Production over safety.
Yeah. The mighty dollar. Yeah. And what it did is cost 29 men their lives.
Including your son.
Yep. And I can never get him back. And, you know, I live every day with that knowledge that he was 25 years old. He had his life at his feet. He was about to become a dad. And he never got to see any of that.
6 months after Joshua was killed, Erica Ufer was born. She's now 8 years old. The daughter, Joshua, never got to meet.
He was a good man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you look a bit like him?
Yeah. It's called the man in the mountain.
Yeah, that's what your dad's called, isn't it? The man in the mountain.
The man in the mountain.
Now, thanks to Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern's government, a major effort is underway to bring the men in the mountain home.
Re-entry of the Pike River mine will proceed.
More than $30 million has been spent making parts of the mine safe enough to re-enter.
Can you hear?
Today, a few families have returned to travel a short distance inside.
It is beautiful, but it's tinged with sadness, and the closer you get to the mine, the more you feel that sadness.
Joe, you looking forward to going in?
I don't know. A bit scared, actually.
A bit scared?
Yeah. A bit nervous now that I'm up here.
I can see you're shaking. Yeah. Good luck, okay? All the best.
Everyone's nervous, especially Daniel. The last time he went inside, he nearly died.
Yeah, you going all right?
Yeah. That's what it is, mate.
It is what it is. Yeah.
It's done.
The vehicle takes them just 170 metres in. It's as close as they may ever get to where the men are buried. There, they left flowers and personal notes and took a group photo against the sealed wall.
That was just a very overwhelming experience. Once I got to the wall, had a little sook and placed the flowers and a note I left for Josh, leant up against the wall, and this calming feeling came over me and I became quite peaceful. So, yeah, it was really kind of bizarre.
It's important to do that.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I like the end of another chapter of this story and the beginning of another one, yeah.
The next chapter is to go even further inside, more than 2 kilometres. Police forensic teams will be part of the exploration, and it's likely they will recover the remains of some of the dead. A thorough search of the mine could also uncover crucial evidence that might explain what happened that day. Families are even hopeful that there may be enough proof down there to finally lay criminal charges. And the person many would like to see held accountable is former mine boss Peter Whittle. He now lives in Australia, where he runs a nursing home in Wollongong, New South Wales.
What is Peter Whittle to you?
I wouldn't want to be in his shoes at the moment. But, you know, maybe I sleep a bit better than him. That's what I think. Well, that's what I hope, that he's still thinking, you know, he may have to face up one day. And he should, like they all should. They all should have to at least get up and be accountable for what happened.
Mr. Whittle, stop the car. Stop the car. Stop the car. Stop the car.
When we caught up with Whittle, he was in no mood to explain why, with so many warnings, he allowed an unsafe mine to continue to operate.
Through this whole thing, no one has ever said sorry. No one has ever come to us and said, we screwed up, we're really sorry. And that sucks.
You deserve that at least.
Absolutely.
The road home from Pike River is lined with reminders of what's at stake for everyone. 29 crosses, 29 helmets, 29 sons. A memorial of stones on the banks of the river is where families pay their respects.
Oh, Ben.
Each miner's stone is decorated, revealing who they were and how much was lost.
Just miss him every day. And today was the closest I have ever been to you, Josh, for 9 years. So I felt you there. So thanks for that.
It's a place of great beauty and pain, and a reminder of a tragedy that should never have been allowed to happen.
All taken from their families, from their mothers, from their wives, from their partners, from their children. Yeah, all for some money.
It is uncertain how long it will take to finish the search of the mine, but when it's complete, the site will become a memorial. A walking track through the surrounding wilderness will be dedicated to the men who died in the tragedy. I'm Melissa Doyle, and thank you for making us part of your Sunday night.